on the 20th of April 2010, just off the Louisiana coastline in the Macondo oil prospect, somewhere around here, a natural technological disaster was about to take place. The UNISDR define a disaster as a serious disruption of the function of society, which exceeds the ability of the society to respond using its own resources. The reasons for this disaster were physical, where a surge of natural gas fractured the concrete drilling core. Further issues were legal, as the MMS granted exclusions from the National Environmental Policy Act to certain oil and gas activities. There was a technological issue with the disaster as well. This was the use of nitrogen in the curing process of the concrete used in the wellhead. This resulted in weakness. Also, the blowout unit failed. The socio-cultural impacts of this were 11 fatalities, 16 injuries, and between 8 and 12,000 temporarily unemployed people. The political impacts of this required the restructuring of the Minerals Management Service. Economic impacts included 4.9 billion barrels spilled, impacting approximately a 5,000 square mile area. The final calculated cost of the disaster was in the region of $40 billion US dollars, with approximately $2.5 billion US dollars of revenue lost by fishermen. The environmental impacts of the disaster were 12% of local brown pelicans dead and 1,200 local turtles dead. The short-term responses to the incident were the US Coast Guard recovering 126 crew members from the drilling rig. 4,100 kilometers of coastline had absorbent booms deployed to soak up surface oil. 1.84 million gallons of Corexit were dispersed using 2 Hercules C-130s. Attempts to cap the well were made. This included a new well cap being installed called the Lower Marine Riser, and this allowed oil to be pumped to the surface to waiting vessels. Also, a metal box was placed over the wellhead to assist with the containment of leaking oil. However, these attempts had some serious issues. Firstly, incorrect booms were deployed. These particular type were only suitable for calm, still water, not like the waters found within the Gulf of Mexico. Ultimately, the booms washed up on Louisiana shorelines, creating further issues for local people, as the leaky, spongy, oil-filled material emptied itself out slowly onto the shore. Rick Steiner stated 70 to 80% of the booms were completely ineffective. There was an issue with the dispersal as well. Corexit EC9500A was found to contain 5 cancer-causing chemicals. 8 ingredients were known to be toxic to aquatic organisms, and overall Corexit was found to have made the oil 52 times more toxic than it initially was. In terms of the well capping itself, the metal box failed due to ice crystals forming under the sea, ultimately resulting in the box blowing out and leaking further. Long-term responses. These included economic response. Here, BP provided $179 million US dollars to aid hotels in Louisiana and Mississippi. This had a positive effect on the economy, with hotels reporting increased sales of up to 24%. BP also aided unemployed oil workers by providing $100 million US dollars in compensation. Here are some statistics on the oil spill's impact. Environmentally then, BP provided $698 million US dollars to coastal restoration projects in Florida and Louisiana. These included rebuilding wildlife habitats and providing new recreational activities for the local people. From the BP oil spill, some important lessons were learned. The Bly report identified 26 improvements that BP needed to make. 23 of these recommendations were met by 2014, which included updating requirements for negative pressure testing, which ultimately led to the well blowout in the first place. The US government also announced new applications for offshore drilling would require further environmental assessment before continuing. In summary, the BP Macondo oil spill occurred on the 20th of April, around 66 kilometers off the coast of Louisiana. This was a physical, technological disaster, which included some serious legal reasons as the cause. The responses to the disaster included the deployment of booms and dispersants. However, it was found that many of the measures put in place were inappropriate for the spill, whereas as previously mentioned, the use of Corexit made the oil 52 times more toxic to marine life. Overall, the US legal reform and recommendations from the Bly report now make drilling for oil a lot safer. Finally, we have an image from Google Maps showing just how far the oil had spread.